Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for the information session with General Dynamics Mission Systems. We'll be starting in about 1 minute. Just going to wait for a few more people to log in, as we had a significant amount of students that registered for this event and alumni. So thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for attending UAGC. We wouldn't be here without you. And we'll be introducing Richard here in just a sec. Thanks again. Wait for just a few more seconds here and we'll get started. Thanks again for attending the information session with General Dynamics Mission Systems today. Alrighty, hello and welcome to today's information session with General Dynamics Mission Systems. My name is Werner Petzold. I'm an employer outreach specialist at the University of Arizona Global Campus and a 10-year U.S. Air Force veteran. We're excited you could join us today to learn more about an exciting career opportunities with General Dynamics Mission Systems. Before I turn the floor over to Richard, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. For all those who register for today's information session, the recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to career services, that's both words mashed together, so career services at uagc.edu. We will follow up with General Dynamics Mission Systems to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the Career Services team will be available to help answer your questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Richard Moore, Military Outreach Program Manager at General Dynamics Mission Systems. Richard Moore is a dedicated and accomplished military professional whose career spans over 6.5 years of honorable service in 2 branches of the United States Armed Forces. With 4 years in the U.S. Navy, followed by 2.5 years in the U.S. Army, Richard has honed a diverse set of skills marked by leadership, adaptability, and steadfast commitment to mission success. Following separation from active duty, Richard pursued opportunities in which he could be an asset military community where he leverages his recruiting insights to provide support with obtaining meaningful employment. He is currently pursuing the Society of Human Resources Management S8, the SHRAM CP certification. For over 25 years, Richard remains passionate about empowering veterans, volunteering with local transition assistance programs, and advocating for mental health awareness in the military community. His long-term objective is to bridge the gap between the military community and how they pursue and obtain new careers. I also want to mention personally, our team as well as me have known Richard for many years. He's an amazing individual. He's very supportive of the military, and he just wants nothing but success for the military members to pursue jobs in the civilian sector. So we are so privileged and we're so excited to hear Richard's presentation today. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Richard now.
Thanks a lot, Werner. I really do appreciate the introduction. First and foremost, again, everyone, my name is Richard Moore. And as Werner stated, I do manage the military outreach program for General Dynamics Mission Systems. Now, some things that I'll be sharing with you today is the structure of General Dynamics, because when people look at us, we're a large organization. When I look at the organization, it's somewhat large. However, when I pull up the structure, you'll see that we look exactly like the military. One thing that you'll learn about me quickly is I don't believe in death by PowerPoint. So everything that I'm going to share with you today is going to be from supported General Dynamics websites. So let me go ahead and start my screen share, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So at this point in time, is everyone able to see my screen? If someone gives me a thumbs up, we'll go ahead and jump right into this. All right, perfect. So initially, when you think about General Dynamics and its structure, I would have to say personally, we look exactly like the military, in a sense that when you look at General Dynamics, we have 4 business units, which are equivalent to the branches of the military service. We then break down into business units, which are equivalent to commands. In my opinion, that's how we end up looking like the military. We normally have 2 to 3 business units per business group. So as we start exploring with each, we start with aerospace. This group is responsible for building and maintaining aircraft. Here we have Gulfstream Aerospace and Jet Aviation. The Marine Systems Group is responsible for building and maintaining ships and submarines. Here you'll find Bath Iron Works, Electric Boat, and NASCO. Our third group, which is Combat Systems, they build and maintain ground and combat vehicles. Here we have European Land Systems, and Ordnance and Tactical Systems. The final group, Technologies, has their hands in everything in relation to land, air, sea, space, cyber, technical, and also life sciences. Here you will find General Dynamics Information Technology, as well as General Dynamics Mission Systems. In total, there are 10 organizations that make up General Dynamics, falling under the General Dynamics brand. So a lot of opportunities out there. I can attest to this personally, because in day-to-day conversations, applicants just want to work for General Dynamics. The concern isn't which of the 10 organizations, they just want a shot. And with this many different organizations, those shots for them are available. Now, some things to think about, especially for those if you're looking at going into information technology. Though General Dynamics Information Technology does have a lot of those types of roles, the one thing that you really want to keep in mind is information technology is also a category. What does that mean for you? That means that Mission Systems has IT opportunities. Ordnance and Tactical Systems has information technology opportunities. All of these organizations that are listed do have those specific opportunities. Now, there's multiple ways that you can begin exploring these opportunities. General Dynamics has a career portal. Now, with the career portal, you can dive right in and start looking at opportunities. Now here, I will recommend leaving these 2 fields blank under Join Our Winning Team. And if you hit the magnifier, that's going to take you to all of the positions that General Dynamics currently has available across all of its business units. The best practice I recommend when you're targeting positions, immediately go into advanced filters. The reason being is because certain titles that you may be familiar with, we may not have. We may call those types of positions something else. So basically, coming into the filters, you can at least start searching by job category. Now here, I will recommend leaving the business unit open. We have some organizations that are not across the US or in multiple states. For example, the organizations that fall under the shipbuilding category, they're normally located near major waterways and shipyards. You won't find those in looking at a map more inland towards that map. So these are some things to keep in mind based on geographical location. Each General Dynamics organization will not be located in every state. Example, General Dynamics Mission Systems does not have a physical presence in Kansas, in Arkansas, in Tennessee, and that's just to name a few states. So when you're searching for opportunities with General Dynamics Mission Systems, you would have to search for remote opportunities, and I'll demonstrate that shortly. But on the General Dynamics career portal, here we have all of our business units listed. We have job categories that are listed. Now, in some cases with job categories, you may not find each and every category listed. Example, General Dynamics Mission Systems does not have a supply chain / logistics category. All of our positions fall under procurement that are related to the supply chain. So in that example, you have to treat yourself as if you're a subject matter expert. Even myself, when I'm targeting positions for myself, when I'm looking for employment, one of the things that I have to remember is I just can't look at positions with the title of recruiter. I also have to look at positions with the title of talent acquisition specialist or talent acquisition manager. They both mean the same thing. They both perform the same task. However, some companies prefer to call their recruiters talent acquisition specialists. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're targeting positions for yourself. Next, we have job locations. This is so important because when potential applicants come to me and they're asking, well, Richard, do you have positions in the Florida Panhandle? I've never lived in Florida. I couldn't tell them what the Florida Panhandle is. And I would simply direct them here. So this way they can see all of the locations in which we currently have positions listed in Florida. This also makes it important because when you're meeting an employer, specifically at a hiring event, sometimes they may not know each and every location for their positions. So in many cases, they'll ask, have you taken a look at the website? Which can be frustrating to a career seeker because we feel if that's the case, I could have done that and not shown up. And that's not always the case. I don't know all of the positions with General Dynamics as far as locality. Even on the General Dynamics Mission Systems page, when we go there, they have about 360 positions. I still wouldn't be able to tell you all of the geographical locations. Also, you want to look at the locations because some organizations, unfortunately, don't have a lot of remote opportunities. As you begin to identify that, now you have to make a decision. What's going to be my commuting range? Is it 50 miles one way? Is it 50 miles both ways? So these are things that as a potential applicant / candidate, you want to keep in mind. And last but not least, we have our employment types, full-time, There are some internships as well as part-time. Be mindful with internships. Some organizations, when they classify a position as an internship, sometimes they're specifically for college students. In some cases, they may not be. And then they'll go into if these are paid internships or unpaid internships. But ultimately, this is one method that you can use when you're targeting positions for yourself or going through your career search. I'm going to take everyone out to the General Dynamics Mission Systems career page. Now, the beauty with General Dynamics is that there are 10 different websites that you can visit. I highly recommend reviewing these individually, and here's why. When we go into the career portal, these are the filters that we have available. So because we're already on the General Dynamics Mission Systems career portal, we don't have a list of all of the General Dynamics organizations. However, we do have our job categories. These are all going to be in real time. And we place these in real time because if we have categories that don't have positions attached to them, the position and the page have a tendency to look broken. Example, we have a human resources / recruiting job category. However, because we don't have positions in that category today, we don't list it. So you may have to come back periodically to see when those positions become available if you're searching for positions in that specific category. And again, because we don't use the supply chain, all of our positions are in procurement that are related. If we click on procurement, currently we have 2 positions available. We have our geographical locations in which we have positions in. These are all in alphabetical order by state. So let's say if you live in Virginia and you wanted to see the positions that are in Virginia, when we scroll to the bottom, we have Chantilly, Chesapeake, Herndon, Manassas, and Marion. And now you can see all of the positions that we have listed in Virginia. We also have employment types. Those that are listed for college, this is where you'll find any entry-level positions that General Dynamics Mission Systems has. These are all of those. One of the ways that I can tell that these are entry-level, when we open up the position description and we're looking at the basic qualifications, one of the elements that's missing are years of experience. So pretty much, if you have a software engineering degree, this is a position that you can pursue. Now, also, you'll see our full-time positions. A lot of the positions that we have are full-time. But what I'll do is if someone's looking for part-time, I'll just select full-time and just subtract the total number of results. So here there should be about 9 part-time. And then, of course, we have our interns for students. You don't see a lot during this time of the year, but they really start ramping up around the beginning of the school year. Sometimes I would say you may see those ramp up a little bit more around October, November timeframe. But we do have a university relations team and I'll drop their information in the chat. So that way, if you have any questions, if there's anyone that has any questions on internships, you can reach out to them directly. I am going to debunk a myth today, and it's one of my favorite myths. Clearances. You do not need a clearance to work for General Dynamics Mission Systems. I say again, you do not need a clearance to work for General Dynamics Mission Systems. If you do not possess a security clearance, you will select no clearance. And out of 357 positions, 33 of those do not require a security clearance. Now, at some point, depending on when or the types of positions or even the categories that you're working in or that you plan on working in, there may be a time where you get to a point in your career where you realize that you do need a clearance. Now, with clearances, we can't go out and obtain those on our own. They do need to be sponsored. And the one thing that I'll share with you specifically with certain positions, if a position indicates you must be eligible to obtain, keep in mind you're competing against individuals that already have a security clearance. So the challenge is, how do I outshine someone that already has a clearance so that this organization will not only offer me a full-time position or the position that I've applied for, interviewed with them, but how do I obtain that clearance? And again, they would have to sponsor that clearance. So those are things that you want to keep in mind, especially if you're moving into a specific category that requires it. My category, a lot of times, does not, human resources. We have more positions that do not require a security clearance than those that do. So as you start looking, you have to determine, do I want to pursue a clearance right now and run a risk of not getting it, or should I just try to get employed with an organization and potentially work for that organization and later down the road find a position, qualify for it, get offered that position, and work that way to obtain that clearance? Because in my background, I've worked with individuals that were so adamant on obtaining a clearance when someone did offer to sponsor their clearance, some people didn't get it. Why? Because they didn't take the initiative to work while they were waiting to be cleared. And some people had gone 6 months, no car payment. Some were getting ready to, their homes were getting ready to be foreclosed on. So when the federal government started their background investigation, these things came up. So you want to keep that in mind. There's a lot of different pieces when it comes to a clearance and how to obtain a clearance. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I a clearance subject matter expert, but having worked as a recruiter, these things came up, and unfortunately, I lost people. Now, for those of you that do have a clearance, let's say if you have a top secret SCI clearance, not only can you select that category or that clearance, but you can also select all clearances below that. So now this opens parameters for you when it comes to the positions that you may qualify for at 344. And you would do the same if you have a top secret. You can select top secret, secret, and no clearance. Now, the final column is our remote options. And what people have a tendency to get confused is when they look at a position description and it says remote options, they think that means that this position can be worked remotely. If that were the case, all of our positions could be worked remotely, and they can't. So let's say if you're in a location, a geographical location, and there's no opportunities near you, or you might be someone who, I don't want to leave my home for whatever reason, you'll simply select remote. And then at this point in time, there are 26 remote opportunities. Now, all of these filters are going to work together at some point. For example, let's say if your background is software engineering and systems engineering, and you're looking at the geographical locations that we have available, and you're in Massachusetts and you're near Pittsfield and you're near Dedham, Quincy, and Taunton, or you're willing to commute that far, and you have a top secret clearance. We've just narrowed down 49 positions that you potentially could qualify for. Or let's just say you've looked at the geographical locations and we're nowhere near your state. You would hit remote. That gives you 6 results that you could potentially qualify for. Now, the key when you are targeting multiple positions, applicant tracking systems only allow one resume to be stored. So a lot of times what I see is individuals that have multiple backgrounds or they've identified multiple positions. They find a position on a Monday. The resume gets tailored, they upload it. They come back, they find another position on Tuesday. The applicant tracking system asks, do you want to replace your current resume? Yes or no? If no, that first resume from Monday stays. If yes, and they haven't included information from the position that they applied for on Monday, they upload the resume on Tuesday. If the recruiter has not gone in and looked at their position, that recruiter for the Monday position, you may be disqualified if they can't identify what they need to see on your resume immediately. So at that point in time, you're disqualified. You may say, well, Richard, I qualified for both. When we go to look at the resume, you may have left certain things off of your resume for the position on Monday. But Tuesday's position, you're good to go. So these are some things to keep in mind when you're applying to multiple positions, especially because positions all of them are going to have different basic qualifications. And just to give you an idea on some of the qualifications that are required in selecting a position, this position has 3 basic qualifications that everyone must possess in order for the recruiter to actually see it: your application and your resume. So this position, basic qualifications are a bachelor's degree in software engineering, related science, engineering, or mathematics. You also have to demonstrate 2 years of experience. You can possess a master's degree as well. Now, this position does indicate that you must be able to obtain a top secret clearance within a reasonable period of time. Me personally, one of the things that has not been answered in my 6-year tenure here is, how long is a reasonable period of time? How many months is that? And this goes back to what I stated earlier. You have to keep in mind that you're competing against individuals that already possess the clearance. So in order for you to get selected, you have to beat those individuals out, get offered the position, accept the position, and then get your rucksack ready to hurry up and wait on the government to either state they're going to grant a clearance, and in some cases, they don't. If they do, great, outstanding. We'll call you up. When can you start? Your clearance came in, you're cleared. Or that call could go, unfortunately, the government didn't grant the clearance, so we're going to have to pull our position back. you'll have to reach out to your investigator. In the meanwhile, the recruiter for that position now has to explain to their hiring manager that you didn't get cleared. So let's say it took 6 months to find you and offer you that position. It took another 18 months for the government to say that they were not going to grant the clearance. So that recruiter, that position has been open for 2 years and no one's working it. So trust me when I share with you today, it's nothing against you, but identifying that cleared candidate is going to be more beneficial for the organization than potentially bringing someone in without the clearance. Because in this example that I gave, this person we put them in for, but they didn't get it. So now that recruiter has to continuously recruit. Everyone who potentially qualified moved on to other jobs. So now they start their cycle all over again, and there's no telling how long it may take for them to identify another candidate and get that candidate onboarded. But ultimately, everyone, this gives you a breakdown of General Dynamics as an organization, all of the organizations that make up General Dynamics. Some of you may be in close proximity to a physical location. However, we really won't know who owns that building, who the organization is until we walk inside of that building, because normally on the sides, they all say General Dynamics. It's not until we get inside that, oh, this is General Dynamics Information Technology. This is General Dynamics Land Systems. This is Gulfstream. This is Jet Aviation. But ultimately, I wanted to make sure that I shared this information with you because it can be unbearable when you're starting your career search. At this point in time, I would like to open the floor to any questions that anyone may have. If there's anything that you would like for me to reiterate, I'm more than glad to do that. At this point, I'll stop sharing so that we can get those questions answered.
Thanks, Richard, for that amazing presentation. We absolutely appreciate all that straight from the cuff information. You never hold anything back, and I think that's great. I did see one question here about somebody mentioning that it seems impossible to get a clearance. And me being 10 years Air Force and you being military as well, we all know that everything is possible, but the key is you got to try. I mean, if you don't
Right.
try, how would you even know that you don't have the clearance or potential? You could be the great fit for the job or the role, but then you never try with the clearance, and then you never go through the process. So, much like everybody else who's applying for jobs at the FBI, things like that, you got to go through the process, and see
Exactly.
see if this is going to be for you. Because you got to at least try, right? Give it the best go. Because entering a great company, like everyone knows that especially the military affiliate students that are on this video recording session, they all know you're an amazing company, and people would just be like, I absolutely want to work for GDMS. Why wouldn't I? So let's go ahead. Yeah, to your point, let's go ahead and address some of these questions that they're bringing up, and let's see what they have to say. So let me go ahead and jump in here and look at them. First one I see, let me see. What skills or qualities make a candidate stand out during the hiring process?
Great question. And I would have to say this is based on each of the positions. With so many different positions that are out there, I get this question a lot. What skill sets are hiring managers seeking? They're seeking what's relevant to that position. If you don't possess them, it's going to be hard to say, this is why you should hire me. So when you're looking at a position description, understand first, how do I break down this position? And the easiest way, and this is what I love that General Dynamics Mission Systems has done. There's 3 pillars: basic qualifications, unique knowledge, skills, and abilities, or sometimes they'll call that what you bring to the table, and then the day-to-day duties and responsibilities. Now, in breaking this down, if you don't have all of the basic qualifications, my personal recommendation, do not apply. Because what's going to happen is the applicant tracking system's job is, hey, don't filter anyone that doesn't qualify. And I know that sounds harsh, but here's why. Imagine being a recruiter. We just came off of a holiday weekend. Monday morning, I have 10 positions, 100 candidates each. 1,000 candidates doesn't seem like a lot to go through, but it is when you have 10 different hiring managers that are calling you up, hey, I haven't seen any candidates. Well, we just came back off of a 3-day holiday. I wasn't working. But in any event, you have to make a decision. Is this person viable for me to share with my hiring manager? The recruiters aren't, everything doesn't stop there. They have to get qualified talent to the hiring manager. The hiring manager in turn will share with them, okay, do a telephone screen with the individual. Report back to me. That call may go, it may be a green light, thumbs up. It may be a red light, thumbs down. So at that point in time, this is when they share that potential information with a hiring manager. I would never send a hiring manager someone who doesn't have the skills that they've already instructed. So you may be right there, but you may not be that candidate. So this is why I say don't take it personal. So once we get past the basic qualifications, you want to have those unique knowledge, skills, and ability. Those that are not would be works well with others and excellent communication skills. If I've spoken with you, I can understand you. We've traded emails. Hey, I didn't have to double ask questions to figure out what you were trying to state to me. Last but not least, we want to take a look at the day-to-day duties and responsibilities. If there's 20 and you've identified that you performed 19 based on the positions that you have on your resume, you're a 95% match in that specific area. On the flip side of the coin, if there's 20 and you've only performed 8, now you're a 40% match. Should you still apply for that position? Richard will never tell anyone not to apply. However, there's no need for me to have a phone call with you because a 40% match, 40% match. I'm going to read off 5 of the 20. I'm going to stop at 15. I'm going to get 5 no's. I'm going to give you the other 15. You're still coming in at a 75% match. We don't start at the bottom and work our way up looking at talent. We start at the top and work our way down. Hopefully that answers the question.
Sure. Working smarter, not harder. I would, any company would do that, absolutely. And I would
exactly.
GDMS is no different. So the one question is too, and this is a good one, because we have the whole gamut, Richard, at our university. We have all the military. I'm sure there's a lot of military affiliated students that are attending right now and watching this. But for those who are not military affiliated, I have a question here from someone who got a degree in IT. So, how would they compete with those that have a military background and maybe they have a background in IT?
Great question. And this can apply to anyone because I've watched transitioning service members, for example, after serving in the Navy. I knew a lot of boatswain's mates, really not the most transferable skills. So when they got out of the military, they went to school. One of the conversations that never took place until this day, almost never takes place. I've never done this type of work before in the degree path that I'm taking. Sometimes career counselors don't ask those questions. So if that conversation never takes place, the question now is, I have my degree, Richard, how can you help? Well, you don't have any positions that I'm targeting. So now it's, well, what recruiters do have those positions? I have to stop recruiting. I have 10 positions. I now have to try to find who the appropriate recruiters are. And guess what? You're still going to have to qualify for their positions. So at some point, we as career seekers, whether we served in the military or we haven't, we have to identify mentors that we can have those conversations with. If I'm not a subject matter expert in IT, I can't tell you how to get into IT. I may can say this is what we look for, but if you don't have it, guess what? We can't bring you on. So with that degree, you want to identify mentors. I would say several mentors that have just gotten into their roles, fairly new, 5 years or less, I would go even 3 years or less. And then you want to receive mentorship from those that are more seasoned, 10 plus years. Because right now, you need to figure out, how do I get into IT? And sometimes mentors will share with you, well, you may have to take this route. You may have to take that route. At one point, it was become a help desk analyst. Too easy, right? But now, in the shift, they now have to come equipped with so many years of experience. And in some cases, that was the easiest way to get cleared, because those organizations could put you in for a clearance. Now they need you to already have the clearance. So still, I would say start with some form of mentorship. Reach out to your alumni associations. Reach out to your career services center, because if not, the weight falls in the laps of the recruiters. And again, we just don't have the bandwidth. If someone was asking me about a position in IT and I'm recruiting recruiters, I couldn't tell them. So then it's, well, Richard, can you help me find someone? Yeah, and they may not ever hear back from me again, because I may have 40 positions that I'm trying to get filled. So I would say definitely look at some form of mentorship.
Good advice. Another question I see here is regarding the resume, as far as the type of resume, the type of resume where you could have, some people do for USA job, USAjobs.gov, things like that.
Right.
Does that type of or the type of resume matter when candidates are applying to GDMS?
It does, but the one you want to keep in mind with resumes, your resume is all about content. Imagine, everyone on this call, I'm going to make you a recruiter today. I'm giving you all certain positions you have to recruit for. As a recruiter, you're going to be making outbound phone calls to individuals. Trust me when I tell you, you're not going to reach out to someone who doesn't match your position description. It would be a wasted call. So a lot of times what recruiters look for is, how does this person match my position description? How do they mirror it? And a lot of times where we miss the mark is, we don't treat ourselves like the subject matter experts that we are. I haven't met the subject matter expert in any category. I've met subject matter experts. So you just have to figure out, where does your expertise match? And then sometimes, Werner, people just apply for positions. They'll throw something at a wall and hope it sticks.
If it sticks like spaghetti, I know.
And then we just hope, that
it.
the recruiters will call us back.
Yeah.
And they don't, because they don't have the bandwidth. So when you're looking at positions, again, make sure that you meet the basic qualifications.
Sure.
That's going to be the first start. Make sure that you possess those unique skills, and then look at the day-to-day duties and responsibilities. If you can demonstrate that you performed a high number of those based on the number of positions that are on your resume, and also that you match the years. I just had an individual last week. I had to reach out to him because on his resume, in his summary, he put he had 7+ years of experience. The recruiter tallied up the years, and he was 2 years short. So we couldn't move forward. And no one's going to reach out. You have to treat this as, no one's going to reach out if you make a mistake, because that conversation could have gone several different ways. Sure. If it's not on the resume the first time, you're pretty much done once you get disqualified. So I would say, think of the chronological resume. There's another version of a resume known as a functional. Some people use the functional because it hones in on the skills. For example, when I transitioned out of the Navy, I was a postal clerk 29 years ago, give or take. If I wanted to get back into a job similar to the post office, and I wanted to demonstrate that I have the skill set, I can't use a chronological. That's a 10-page resume. I would have to use a functional and leverage the skill set postal management and bring everything that's postal management related to the front. Sometimes we may have to change the different resume formats, but for the most part, if a position says you have to demonstrate, let's say, 7 years of experience, and you've had that 7 years between 2015 and now, you can list a chronological resume. Sometimes if you have to go back further, and we only get roughly 45 seconds to impress a recruiter. After that, they're done. If they can't find what they're looking for in 45 seconds and they have another 300 resumes that they have to look at, and find what they're looking for in your resume, they'll bypass you. So this is why I say it's all about the content, even down to when you start tailoring your resume. The way that I tailor mine, I look at each day-to-day duties and responsibility. I use that as a placeholder. I then highlight the industry buzzwords and phrases. I then take that same bullet, if I performed it in the other 3 positions, copy it and paste it. Now, when I go to rewrite it, those industry buzzwords and phrases remain on, everything else comes off. I now build a brand new bullet relevant to that position.
Staying on this too a little bit, because I had this other person who had mentioned, asked, well, can I use my bachelor's of arts in public administration or my master's in organizational management at General Dynamics? And I know that in the past, you and I have attended many military events together and things of that nature. I believe in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, as far as I remember, you talked about STAR. I think the situation, task, action, and then result. Showing your accomplishments and not just
Right.
skills. So I guess my question would be, to add to this individual, is if somebody who doesn't, you're going to have people that are graduating from our university that may not have all those 6 years, 4 years, 5 years of experience, but yet in these other jobs, where because they have years of experience in the work area, they have experience in these things where they have done amazing accomplishments over the years with these jobs that they've had in potential management, supervisory roles, things of that nature. So how does that, where I'm taking this, right? How does that delve for the people who are trying to be competitive so that they can, a recruiter can seriously look at their resume and look at their accomplishments? What can they do, or how is that something that would help at GDMS?
Yes, and what we would do, and this is a perfect topic. We're going to reverse engineer. I'm going to give everyone an example. When I worked for the Virginia Employment Commission between July 2009 to August 2009, I helped 300 unemployed veterans obtain employment. Now, even though I can't see everyone, I know you're thinking, how? Now, notice I started with an accomplishment. I'm going to lay out every action that I perform. So even though you have the accomplishment, you can still reverse engineer. I'm going to tell you that I had to give them an assessment to see if I could get them into training. And once I was able to get them into training before they graduated training, I started connecting them with local employers. I started scheduling the interviews for them. So just by me reverse engineering, Richard probably has more to that, but that's a portion of what he did, the actions that he took. And that, again, that's what your resume has to be all about. Now, if you can't hit that, if you can't explain that in detail, you're facing an uphill battle, because the next individual that comes behind you, they're going to put that information on their resume. This may not be the position for you. Every position that you look at, if you realize I can't tailor my resume, I recommend do not apply, because all that's going to do is bring a lot of heartache to you. And some people think, well, Richard's harsh. No, I'm not harsh. I'm realistic. I watch people apply for 30 positions at a time with General Dynamics Mission Systems. When I see those, I reach out to them and say, hey, buddy, you're applying to too many positions. It's not the fact on how it looks. You flat out don't qualify. So let's identify one and let's work on that, and let's see how that works. It may work out for them, it may not, but these are things that people really don't think about. I'm gonna put my application in. They don't think back to what I referenced earlier. Tailor your resume, or if he applied to 30 positions and he only had one resume in there, of course he wasn't going to qualify. Or if he was taking a resume out, the recruiter from the previous position comes back, looks, this person doesn't qualify, but at one point they may have. So these are things that we want to keep in mind.
I have 2 questions, Richard, and I'm going to combine them both because they talk about clearance. So first question is, can anyone apply for, I'm sure you get this question all the time. I've heard you address this in many other military meetings that we've had together. Can anyone apply for a clearance without applying first, just to get that part of it rolling? And then the other kind of related question with clearance is there an age requirement or a limitation on applying for certain positions or clearance age limitations?
Got it. The first part of that question, you can't go out and get a clearance on your own. It has to be sponsored. I couldn't tell you what the cost is. I've heard that they can get pretty high. So I'm not taking out a loan to try to get a clearance. And what happens if I don't get it? I'm
Yeah,
not
you don't
getting
get
my
the
money
job.
back.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
now I'm thinking, okay, I don't have a clearance and I have to pay this extremely large loan back. So all of your clearances are going to have to be sponsored by an organization. Example, if you apply for a position with General Dynamics Mission Systems, you get offered that position. It requires a clearance. We're going to put you in for it. We sit back and we let the government do their job. Now, how it comes back, we can't beg and plead, okay, Jane Doe didn't get the clearance, but can you please give it to her? No, because there's something in Jane's background that's
Understood.
derogatory that we can't give it. She's going to be a
Right.
risk.
Yeah.
Now, that second part of the question, and can you repeat that second part for me again?
They asked about the age requirement or limitation on applying for certain positions or clearance age limitations.
To my knowledge, a clearance doesn't have age requirements. Some positions may, depending on their specific category, like if there's going to be a lot of climbing, if there's going to be
Right.
some things where an individual may not just be doing regular type of positions. We don't have an age requirement on any of our positions. But the one thing to keep in mind is how far back does the government go? I had an instance here 2 weeks ago, met a gentleman at a hiring event. He told me out of his own mouth he couldn't get a clearance because his son was in prison.
Mm.
So that lets you know that they do look at close family members. And because his son had that legal issue, he couldn't get a clearance. So I had to focus with him on non-cleared positions.
I have one here that talks about this is a good one. Being GDMS is international, right? This question is, do I get a position? Is it better to get a position in the U.S., Richard, with GDMS, and then apply for a position in General Dynamics internationally after a year, and after you've worked at GDMS, let's say for a year?
You can apply for a position at any given time. The question is, you have to go through an application process. I couldn't tell you how many internal candidates you would be applying against. Now, there may be a difference in looking at General Dynamics or another organization, and you're with General Dynamics Mission Systems. I couldn't tell you how other organizations look at those candidates. I couldn't even tell you how, if someone from another General Dynamics organization is looked at when they apply here. They may be asked, are you a General Dynamics Mission Systems employee? At that point, they would have to answer no. Are you a General Dynamics employee? Yes, because we all work for General Dynamics, General Dynamics. So it would just all depend on how individuals are classified. And please, don't think it's instant. You have to apply for that position. And sometimes people get frustrated because, well, I'm already with the organization. They hired someone outside. That person came more qualified. So it's not just a walk in the park and it's given, it's automatic. It's not. You still have to fight for that role.
We got about 6 minutes left. Can you hang for another 6 minutes?
Sure.
Thank you so much. This was a good one, and this probably applies to a lot of people that are attending our university. Older, they might have experience in multiple jobs. Maybe they had 2 or 3 enlistments underneath their belt. They're not making a military career. They're transferring into a different career field. So for this individual, they were saying, well, how do you treat applicants that are switching careers? For me, I've been a licensed banker, but I'm trying to switch my career into ITs. And since I don't hold experience in IT, I have experience not moving forward emails than I ever had. So I guess, here they are trying to move in the IT world. And just another question, which I think a lot of people are thinking in this meeting, which you hear probably all the time, Richard, is for those who don't have a ton of experience, but yet they may have dabbled in IT, as an example, for taking on like an entry-level role, where then at GDMS, where they may qualify for some of those pieces of the entry-level role that you would hire them for, but ultimately they might want to, down the road, want to be a systems engineer or whatever it is the case that their ultimate goal will be. I know that's kind of a no-brainer, but at the same time, how does that work at GDMS?
Mentor, mentor, mentor. I can't stress it enough. Because imagine this. Your computer goes out at your home. Richard's interested in IT, never done IT before. You call up Richard, we start talking. I tell you, well, I don't know it, but I can learn it. The next person you call is more qualified. You don't even give me a call back to let me know, hey, Richard, we're taking another route, or you may. It's the same thing in the work and in the job field, because we can't, most companies, when they hire individuals, the days of going to training are done. Now everyone will say, I'll fake it till I make it. Those are the individuals that are normally with us for 3 months. And then what happens? We have to let them go. So my personal recommendation is, at some point, I don't care who you are, vet, non-vet, you need to look at some form of mentor. Because as an organization, when you come to us, we have to make a decision. Do we put the person that's a 40% match into the role, and someone's going to have to sit with them? And if Richard has to sit with them, who's doing his work? That happened to me once in my life, and I never allowed it to happen again, because me trying to help someone, it took 6 months away from me. I missed out on 2 pay increases. I said, nope, never again.
I totally get
never
that.
again. So these are that's something that, when you're looking at getting into a role, I can't stress this enough. Mentor, alumni associations. Some organizations are out there that do mentoring. So you want to look at those that offer certifications. Even though you're already at the degree stage, it's okay to reach out to them and ask, hey, I'm with this specific college or university, I'm pursuing this type of degree. Is there anyone I can speak to that could potentially answer some questions that I have? And your number one question should be, I've never done this type of work before. What type of opportunities should I be looking for?
I got 2 more if we can squeeze in. And thank you so much, Richard, for being here for 60 minutes. We absolutely appreciate
no
you.
problem, no problem.
One is local for both you and I. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised, so all my family's in Baltimore County. So this one person's asking, does General Dynamics have any help desk positions available in Maryland or anything else? And then the second question to that is, this is a good one. This is actually regarding a referral source. So it says, what referral source should we use when applying? I have applied to several positions today, and it asks, what is your referral source? So sorry to throw 2 questions at you at the same time, but yeah.
Not a problem at all. With the referral source, in some cases, what will happen is, if you're asked for an employee, sometimes that resource may be an actual person. Sometimes you can say, well, I attended this event, I attended that event. And that's where I'm actually looking. Or in some cases, if you have a friend or a family member that's already employed with General Dynamics, then you can actually take that route. To answer the next question about help desk, right now, General Dynamics Information Technology has 8 help desk opportunities. 2 are in DC and 6 are located in Maryland. However, they do require clearances. And these look like they may be high-level clearances. So depending on the type of work that someone will be doing, I would recommend for that individual to take a look at the position description. Because again, depending on, there may be some flexibility, there may not be, but they won't know until they actually read the position descriptions.
I do want to reference what you said earlier about how your jobs, you strip up and strip down the jobs regularly.
Correct.
So that's really great. I hope everyone heard that earlier. That way you know what's current And then when you're applying out there, you don't have to ask, how old is this job? Or, I think that's just fabulous
Exactly.
that GDMS does that. A lot of companies, Richard, do not do this that quickly. They do not.
Exactly.
I think that's so awesome. All right. Well,
real quick,
yes.
Werner, one thing that I'll share with you and Lavonda later on today
Yes,
is
sir.
going to be some information to share with everyone who registered for the call today. So
We
this
will.
way they'll at least be able to share their resume with General Dynamics Mission Systems. In many cases, if you don't have points of contact within the other organizations, I can help filter that information out as well, because a lot of times we get so much in the zone. I wear the Mission Systems uniform, but I know that everyone that applies to a position can apply here. So I'm going to share that information out so that way you can get it shared with everyone who registered, students alike. So yeah, you'll be able to get that information out, and we'll just take everything from there. Because definitely, even though I run our military outreach program, I want to help as many people as I can.
And there you go. That's exactly what I told about Richard earlier. There's a great example of exactly how amazing he is. So if you want to connect with General Dynamics Mission Systems and other organizations that are actively hiring, please log in to Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake, UAGC Connect, and your email regularly for more career services events. Reminder, you will receive a follow-up email with the link to this recording and information about careers at General Dynamics Mission Systems. If you have any questions for Career Services team on your resume, cover letter, or job search, please email careerservices@uagc.edu or log into Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Please take 1 minute to hang on. At the close of this information session, you'll be directed to complete a quick confidential survey. Your responses will guide us in planning future employer information sessions, career fairs, and events. If you're unable to complete it now, the survey will be emailed to you with a copy of the recording. Many thanks again to Richard at General Dynamics Mission Systems for joining us today, and many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. Thank you for attending this event today. We look forward to seeing you at more Career Services hosted events. Everyone have a wonderful day and a great summer.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Richard.